Hi, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I'm John Butler, and the title of the talk is A Deeper Look at Bacteria and Viruses. Because the subject is so vast and we only got 55 minutes, I'm going to zoom along really fast and try and cover as much material as I can. And then afterwards, we can go in the lounge, the virtual lounge or the chat room and answer questions as long as you want to talk. And I'll also at the end of the talk, I'll give out my phone number if you got some more questions. So let's get started here. A bacteria is like a type of it's a biological cell. It's like a microorganism is the easiest way to explain it. And it's only like a few micrometers in length. They'll come in all kinds of size and shapes. When I've looked under a microscope, they're balls, there's spirals, there's corkscrews, there's rods, take your pick. I've seen all kinds of ones under a microscope. Now, a virus is a lot smaller. They're submicroscopic. They're considered infectious because they replicate themselves by going inside a living cell and causing all kinds of diseases. But a virus can affect anything. It can affect a plant, any kind of animal, and it can even infect a bacteria. Everybody knows about the good bacteria, but pathogens are what is considered the bad bacteria. Those are the ones that cause diseases when you use the word pathogens. Now I'm going to show you here this book. This book was written, this is like the 10th revised edition in 1901 by Dr. Ernest Ziegler. General Pathology, the Science of the Causes and Nature and Course of the Processes of Disease. In 1903, it was translated into English. This book is 760 pages long, and I'm going to try and sum up this whole book in one word, one diagram, and 2 paragraphs. Now, the word is this: pleomorphism. It's basically it's the ability of the microorganisms to alter themselves. Their biological functions, and also their reproductive modes. And it's the environment and the terrain that will determine what they decide to do. So if you have a toxic body, they're going to go hog wild on you. Now, I'm going to show you this chart, this diagram, and you don't need to copy it, okay? Because I'm going to give you another chart. But this is like a good explanation of pleomorphism. It starts out as a viral, as a spore floating around like. And then some of those spores will germinate into like a bacteria. And those bacteria then will morph into what's called the animal stage of protozoa. And parts of that will morph into the male version of it down here. It's a form of virus-like. And some of them will morph into what's called the the female sex organ of a germ. The sperm from the virus impregnates the germ, and then this morphs into the fungal or plant stage. That's the sixth stage in the 7-stage process, the plant stage. In the 7th stage is when it ends up infecting a new host. Okay, now you don't need to copy this, like I said. I got to read to you. I want to read to you what the book talks about, the conditions that allow the fungi and the protozoa to infect the human cells. When they do that, they create these cells that are both human and parasitic. And then you get these cells that have all kinds of genetic defects in them. And then that screws up the ability of to replicate as healthy cells. It gets a little complicated. So I wanted to read to you here the 4 conditions that initiate like tumor growth described in the book. Every parasite in our body that produces eggs must also produce sperm cells. The sperm cells are self-replicating bits of RNA in a protein coat, which is basically, they're talking about a virus. When they use the word self, that refers to the species of parasite that produces the egg and sperm, and not the sperm itself. The life stages that germinate from the egg are called germs and bacteria. Both male and female stem line cells are parasites which cause disease. In the book, they consider viruses the male stem line of a parasite. So basically what they're saying is the viruses are the mechanism by which the fungi and protozoa cause cancer and all kinds of other health problems. So it really pays to think about detoxifying your body. I'm going to recommend a book here. Here's the book, Detoxify or Die, by the fantastic Sherry Rogers. I've known her ever since she started her practice. She's phenomenal. She's written over 15 books. So basically, you want to eliminate the viruses that clean up the terrain in your body by doing all kinds of detoxifying protocols. You know, the parasite cleansing, obviously better nutrition, and I like to use the ionized water, drinking the ionized water. You can do the liver gallbladder flush programs. There's the kidney bladder flush programs, but there's so many great ways to detoxify the body. But to get a good start, this is a good way to go is with her book. I'm a big believer in electromedicine, because with the electromedicine, you can treat things right in the middle of the brain, using the glass electrodes, the electromagnetic frequencies, radio sound waves, and photons, light energy. Okay. There's like, there's 3 ways like you can the cells can communicate with each other. And when you can kill all kinds of pathogens in the body that will stop those. Is when you've killed the pathogens, then they can't. There's no communication going on. I do have an article here. This is called. This article is called "Curing Cancer with Ultra High Frequencies." What's interesting, it was written by George Lukowski in 1925. Edgar Casey was recommending electromedicine back in the 1920s and 30s, the famous psychic. I actually have one of the machines that he recommended for, over 900 times the master violet ray machine from the 1920s and 30s. But the technology is the same. I got the glass electrodes with it. But it's not new. It's been being used for a long time. One of the things that we found is that we have, a long time ago, me and my friend doused that we all have pathogens in our brain. Sorry about that, but that's what douses out. But then about 3 years ago, we found something else that was kind of interesting. It douses out that we've got all kinds of little known or unknown or undiscovered pathogens in our brain too. That was shocking when we found that out. We both came to, on our own, separately, we came to that same conclusion. And then we found out microbiologists have really only discovered only about 10 or 15% of the different bacteria and viruses that are out there. And that's not even counting the ones they've been bioengineering for the last 20 years in the different labs around the country where they're slicing and dicing all kinds of genetic material and viruses and stuff like that. They came out with a book of Lab 257. That's the lab in off of Long Island, on Plum Island. They on a map it'll say Federal Animal Experimental Lab, but it's a Bio 5 level lab where they've been messing with the most dangerous pathogens on the planet there for a long time. That's where Lyme disease escaped from. Lyme, Connecticut's only about 7 miles from that island. It's a bird nesting island, and thousands of birds land and take off from there all the time. But that's where Lyme disease comes from. It escaped by accident from Plum Island. And West Nile encephalitis is another thing that is a virus that escaped from Plum Island. But they cover it up because it's a military lab. That's why you need all these frequencies to try and treat these pathogens with all the things that they're creating out there. That's why I kind of like electromedicine, but I'm going to give you a bunch of things you can do without using electromedicine. So, yeah, the next thing I want to talk about is now this next diagram I'm going to give you. It's in this book. Okay. The persecution of Gaston. The subtitle of the book is The True Story of the Efforts to Suppress an Alternative Treatment for Cancer, AIDS, and Other Immunologically Based Diseases. So back in 1980s and the 1990s, Christopher Bird would come to the Dowsing Convention. He'd give talks. This book was published in 1991. He was on the board of directors of the Dowsing Society. Everybody liked him because he was so smart and incredible researcher. But Nielsen is the guy who discovered the summative cycle. Now, you don't need to copy it because I'll show you where you can get it. The somatid, SOMATID, that's like an ultra microscopic, it's a subcellular living and reproducing entity. Many scientists believe it's like the precursor of DNA, which may be it may be, they think that somatid might be the building block of all life on Earth. It's invisible in the blood and things like that. The website to learn about this, I'll give you is, I'm going to go over it real quickly with you. This is the website here, the somatide cycle. Biotesting Therapy International. Okay, you can learn about that. You can get your own copy of this somatide cycle. Now, on this cycle, these particles are, they're found on everything. On animals and fruits and vegetables, on plants. They're even found on rocks and all kinds of stuff. But they seem to be pretty indestructible. The first three stages are kind of like normal. If you're normal, when they go through those stages, okay? But the next 13 stages are the ones that where all the problems pop up. Number 4 is when it goes into a bacteria. That's number 5. It becomes a double bacteria, coming from the original 1 bacteria. Again, we're going back to that pleomorphism. And number 6 is like it becomes a rod, the rod form. It just looks like a long bacteria. I've seen them under a microscope, those rods. Now, stage 7 is a bacterial form with double spores on it. Again, all these things are going to be on that website explaining it, so you don't need to copy any of this down, okay? Number 8 there was, it's like a bacterial form, but it's got spores on it that start to move around. On number 9, it morphs into a traditional bacteria that most microbiologists are familiar with. Now with number 10, that's like it's like all kinds of bubbles on it. And on number 11, the bubbles burst, okay? And then that fluid, which is called psychoplasma, that ends up in your blood. Then you got the problems, big time. Then it becomes fluid becomes like a form of yeast, and then the yeast on stage 13 develops into like a precursor to fungus, I guess you could call it that. Yeah, whenever they use the word mycelia, that means fungus. And then we're going all the way up into stage 14 here. Uh, then after it becomes a fungus, then it becomes an adult fungus, a full-grown fungus. And then finally at stage 16, that ends the cycle. That's when the fungus becomes really active in the body. And then when they burst, they release a whole bunch of new particles in the blood. Then each new particle has the capability of duplicating the cycle all over again. All this literature is on that website, so you don't need to copy any of this, okay? But I think you're getting a picture here on this. I'll give you again, this is the website. Somatid cycle. And that's the website. Okay. We can get going with some other stuff here. Back in 2015, I gave the lecture Deer to Prepare. One of the places I gave the lecture was actually at the Dowsing Convention. And I gave a bunch of things I told people that are going to happen in the future. And one of the many things I talked about was there's going to be a biological global pandemic. But I gave these lists of things to prepare, all these things you want to have on hand to start to prepare. And what happened was, like one lady came up to me afterwards and she doused that, she had doused that she should go to my talk, but she hated it. It put her in fear mode. Well, I'm thinking her dowsing was 100% correct. She needed to get jacked up and take action, but she wanted to perpetuate those comfort zones. Yeah, I gave the talk here locally at the Dowsing chapter, and I said that, look, Noah did not wait to the start rain to start to prepare. But the response there was like one lady came out to me in the parking lot afterwards, and she said, "You shouldn't talk so negatively. You put me in fear mode." So this was in 2015. So so who do I get a call from in March of 2020? So she calls up and she goes, "Not that I'm in fear mode, but you got to help me prepare." And I'm thinking to myself, I did help you to prepare, but you didn't listen. There was one group of people that came up to me and they at the Dowsing Convention, and they said, well, we're going to use our prayers and intentions and meditate all these problems away that you said that are going to happen. Well, basically, they were saying they're too lazy to do any physical action, do the physical work, or basically too cheap to spend any money to get prepared. Your health is worth it. My motto is your health is real wealth. It's money in the bank. And you live in a physical body and in a physical world, and so my advice is to take this stuff seriously about coronavirus. It's serious stuff, but that was the article or the work lecture I gave, Dare to Prepare. Again, I didn't get a chance to talk about enough things that I wanted to talk about, but it gives you, I give you a list of the long things of what you want to have on hand. And everybody laughed when one of the things halfway during the talk, I stopped and I said, look, one of the most important things you're going to want and need in the future is toilet paper. And everybody laughed, but nobody listened. All I can do is offer this suggestion, and that's what I did. But you have to take this COVID thing seriously. You know, there are a few medications that can that work on it halfway decently. But because they don't cost a lot, the drug companies like come up with fake studies saying they don't work, like this one, the famous hydrochlorine. Well, I just call it ACQ, heparin. They work. There's a little some side effects to them, but they're not bad compared to the other crazy things they're recommending. But there, you know, you definitely gotta, you know, some people will say, well, they experience mild stomach problems taking HCQ. Yeah, you will, because it kind of wipes out your small intestine. That's why you got to take a lot of probiotics with it, which people don't do. They came out with fake studies saying it doesn't work because it doesn't work unless you take zinc with it anyways. Now, to fight off the viruses, you're going to want to know about this little guy here, the cytokines. They're the chemicals your body, your cells make to fight off the viruses. But if you're on any medications, you're going to not have a lot of cytokines, okay? And one of the things that I thought would be good to let you know about is the 7Ms. We'll get into that in a second here. Now, we want to go through the 7 stages, okay? But I wanted to mention the 7Ms. We'll get into that. And, you know, in the first stage of the virus, it lands on your cells, okay? Usually through your nose, on your throat, then it'll end up in the lungs or even on the eyes too. It gets on your skin. So if you think you've been exposed to it, you know, being with a bunch of people and stuff, I would kind of recommend when you go home, like do the standard neti pot or the Navage equipment. That's the Navage thing is it irrigates your nasal passages. That it costs $100. It's worth it. Good product. They use salt to flush it out. There's like a force going through physically and sucking it out. That's the very least minimum thing if you think you've been exposed to it. Yeah, you can maybe even use a little bit of food grade hydrogen peroxide, rinsing out your mouth with it, things like that. Putting some drops in water. But yeah, you should shower do a shower, soak in bath, things like that. Or you can take the hydrogen, food grade hydrogen. I don't really recommend that store-bought stuff, the store-bought hydrogen. But that's it's got a lot of stabilizers in it. I don't think that's a good idea. I would only use that as a last resort if you couldn't get the food grade. But you can do soap and baths too in your overall body with baking soda and sea salt. Now I'm totally opposed to that colloidal soap. It's I don't care if it's ionic or angstrom size. I mean, this stuff is angstrom size. It doesn't douse out as safe. I don't recommend it. It gets stuck. Those metal ions get stuck in your body. Yeah, it will kill over 400 different pathogens, but otherwise, you're stuck with those metal ions. When I look clairvoyantly, it's like a pinball game in there. I'm seeing the energy being bounced off these little metal ions. The body can't break it down. It's not a food, those metal ions. So they end up getting stored in the liver, the kidneys, small intestine. You don't excrete them like they claim you do. Just because something's alternative doesn't mean it's safe. Okay, but I wanted to go into the 7 M's that you want to keep your body clean of. Okay, these are the 7 M's. Okay. Medications, pretty obvious. They're going to make you toxic. And then we got rather than just call it fructose corn syrup, it's mercury contaminated when they make it. Okay. And then we got our mangled trans fats. The canola oil, the safflower oil, the corn oil, the zoa oil, soybean oil, super detrimental. A lot of vegetarians are living on that tofu, and that just wipes out your thyroid. If you want to wipe out your thyroid, eat a lot of tofu. Now this guy, who's the expert on it, Christopher, he wrote this book on the oils, the seed oils that are bad for you. So the guy's fantastic. I think the book is mistitled. It should be called How Certain Processed Seed Oils Are Causing All Kinds of Degenerative Diseases. It makes it even worse when you take those oils and heat them up. This is a great book, great researcher, because you find out the oils cause all kinds of problems besides macular degeneration. But that's his, there's his foundation, Pure AMD Foundation. You'll find it on the internet. AMD is against age-related macular degeneration, but his book is really good on the oils. Now, the next thing on the 7M list is mycotoxins. They're any kind of toxic substance the body is produced or excreted by a fungus or yeast. They can be involved with all kinds of serious health problems. And you won't even know that that's the cause of it. Candida is a classic example of all the stuff that excretes. That's mycotoxins that it excretes. And then you got all kinds of problems coming from your small intestine, brain fog. The list is long. Now, The next thing on the list here is the GMO foods, modified food genes. Everybody knows they're bad. The GMO foods, there's books on that. So the best you can to stay away from them. The GMO foods. That's actually I missed there, the mycotoxins. Now the xenoids, those are basically the chemical compounds that are normally found in living organisms. You know, all the drugs you take, the illegal, both legal and illegal. They like pesticides, herbicides. Now, when you buy most nuts, they'll if it's not organic, they'll spray them, both nuts and dried fruit with a fungicide to keep the mold and fungus from growing on them. So that's on the list. And then at the bottom is managed healthcare. You know, the standard orthodox treatments for cancer, for instance. You know, you poison the body with, you know, drugs and radiation, or else you do surgery and, you know, you spread the cancer cells around in the body doing that. Now, on that list of manufactured xenobiotics, I got here, I put this in my water packet. This is all the heavy metals and where we're getting them from. Source list of where we're getting everything from. Now, it douses out, we're all loaded with radiation, we're all loaded with heavy metals that even young kids douse out. But you know, we found like on here with the mercury thing, for instance, it says you get that from body powders, cosmetics, dental fillings, fungicides. It's in the tattoos even, and a whole bunch of other things. So that's why we're a big fan of drinking ionized water, because that will pull out the negatively charged ions in when you drink ionized water, it produces millions of negatively charged electrons, and the negatively charged electrons attract and bind to the positively charged heavy metals, toxins, and cancer cells and help pull them out of the body. So that briefly about that first stage with COVID. Now in the second stage of COVID, the virus attaches to the cells. It does it with a glycoprotein, and if you take that HCQ and heparin, it can disrupt that stage. But the simple thing, you know, doing the nasal flush is also, you know, the flush that clean out your colon and your small intestine. There's all kinds of herbal products out there. Like here's for cleaning out the small intestine and colon is, you know, using oxides of magnesium. I've been promoting this stuff for 20 plus years because it'll help pull out the stuff in the small intestine. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this, even though most health food stores don't want to seem to carry it. That's where I keep it around here for people. But now with stage 3, the virus enters the gates okay, that are on the cell membrane, okay? We got gates, okay, and those gates are, the more toxic you are, the more gates you have on your cells. Um, the more your diets, consists of processed foods, well, you're going to have more gates. It opens them up on your cell membrane or outer wall of the cell. Like if you're on high blood pressure pills, you're like 4 times more likely to contact COVID. If you do have, I was going to say, if you do have heart problems, I recommend you get Sherry Rogers' book, The High Blood Pressure Hoax. But to close the gates, it's crucial to take the vitamin D3. Some people take sulfur, which is good too. In stage 4, the virus gets inside the cell. Okay. I think that once it gets in the cells, then you really got your problem. When it gets inside the cell, then it's going to start replicating itself by producing new baby viruses. Now, one of the things that everybody's recommending is the zinc. Okay, chelated zinc. I take a food-based type of zinc, but I also drink aloe vera juice. That's douses out as the best natural source of zinc that we've ever doused. Yeah, you can eat pumpkin seeds and all that other things too. Food sources are good, different ones, but I like to do the aloe vera juice. Okay, it doesn't cost that much either. Another thing a lot of people are promoting is magnesium. Now, a third thing you can take is resveratrol. Okay. Now that particular brand is a really good brand. There's a lot of brands out there. Some are pretty good, but that particular brand is pretty good. But I don't want you to think that these few things are the only thing you can or should do. Okay. You want to take good all natural vitamin C if you can find one. I got some that I use and like. But the other thing you can do is take, besides the all natural vitamin C, is liposomal vitamin C. Okay. You can look up how to buy that. There's a couple of good brands out there. Live On Labs is one of the best brands we've ever tested. LIV, Live On -ON Labs. You can make your own. There's 4 or 5 websites on how to make your own liposomal vitamin C. I got some sitting in my refrigerator right now, but you're going to learn about that on the internet. But those 2 things are really good. And of course, I'm a big fan and believer in electro medicine. That will knock those viruses be good too. Basically, you don't want to limit yourself to one thing. Health is too complex to limit yourself to one thing. You don't want to ride one horse. Basically, that's it. Now, in stage 5 is when that virus will go hide out and hibernate in the small intestine. Okay. And when it does that, it's not, most of the time, lots of times, it's not producing any symptoms when it's hiding out there. Uh, this makes the person a perfect carrier for and a spreader of the virus when it's hiding out there. A lot of young people are doing this unintentionally because they don't have little or no symptoms, okay? Um, at stage 5, you want to take as many antiviral substances as you can think of. Some people take grapefruit seed extract. I had some here, the Tri-Sun, TRI, Trio Sun, TRIO Sun dash Sun is a good brand of grapefruit seed extract. Now, in the Far East, what people will take is this stuff, Andographis, okay? Andographis, Andrographis. And they've been getting good results with Andographis. And some of the doctors are now using making up pine needle tea. They've been getting good results with pine needle tea. There's so many ways out there. Use them all. Whatever you learn about, do them. Even though I have the photon sounding machine, I'll still do stuff too. I'm not going to limit myself to one thing or one technique or one method. But if your small intestine isn't healthy at all, then I'm going to recommend that you've got this book, How to Cure Diabetes. Again, with my favorite lady, Dr. Sheila Rogers. I love her. She's fantastic. How to Cure Diabetes, because she'll teach you in there how to heal that, work on healing up that small intestine. Now we got to go into the 6th stage, which is the most important thing here, I think. Most doctors don't even know about this. It's crazy that they don't even know about this when I talk to them, let alone most people. I told you from the very beginning that these things morph and change. Well, COVID morphs too, big time. And they morph into what's called prions, okay? They're smaller mutant viral pieces, okay? That's the big thing to really understand. Most of this is really important because lots of times you'll see a diagram of a COVID. It'll be a ball with all these spikes coming out of it, okay? Those are the receptor sites that the immune system gravitates toward to take out and work on the virus. The problem with these darn viruses is they don't have any receptor sites on them, which then makes them invisible to our immune system, which then means there isn't any drug or test for them. And the worst part of all is these prions target our brains. They cause all kinds of deterioration, resembling various forms of mental illness, schizophrenia and depression, dementia. It'll look like the person has Alzheimer's. Yeah, this brain damage is the biggest problem of all. And when they do, this brain damage, what causes it is it causes our bodies to produce this stuff, GSK3. That's the big problem, is doing that. It's causing that GSK3. And one of the things that you want to do is take lithium orotate, okay? Lithium orotate, beet stouts out there loaded with lithium, by the way. They actually have shown lithium they give to people who are depressed. Well, I think what it's doing is addressing prions in our brain. But lithium orotate will address those prions in our brain. Curcumin is another good thing that you can and should take besides taking lithium orotate. But get the curcumin that's got that goes deep in it called BCM-93 curcumin. Curamed sells a good brand. A Life Extension sells that brand of type of curcumin too. Yeah, and the seventh stage is when you get it in the lungs. Then you're going to really have to get to work on that. You got to take this COVID thing seriously. It's bioengineered. It escaped, and now it's totally out of control. Going through these stages, going into 40 different. It's designed to go into up to 40 different variances. So you have to take this stuff seriously. I did want to briefly mention my friend whose daughter was 14 and never been vaccinated. So Governor Cuomo passed a law saying that in June, he got paid off by the drug companies to pass the law that no more religious exemptions. So we had to do a bunch of things for her to go to school. And I just wanted to briefly share with you a few of the things if we got time here is, we did recommend the iodine. That's another thing that they recommend. If you've taken the shot, you want to take a real good iodine source. I always keep plenty of that here for people. But we had her take two homeopathic remedies from Creation's Way. We had her do the protection solution water bottles. That's one of the things that we did. That makes up a thing that you take under your tongue and put in your water, the protection solution water stuff. Once you got the bottle, you can make it over and over again. And then what we did was we had the nurse put the vaccination, the needle, and the vaccine on the food liquid energizer disc. After about 5-6 minutes, it doused out that it was cleared. We also did the Transcend clearing pendulum. We did that too. We did a bunch of things, but because time's running out here, we treated her with the areas where she got shot up with the photon sound beam machine. But we had her do this stuff after she got the shot and a bunch of times after that. We had her do soak and baths and baking soda and sea salt and things like that. We did a whole bunch of things and everybody found out what we were doing. And so we're kind of sharing it with everybody because you can do this with the COVID-19 too. All these things that we ended up doing to work on the child vaccination. But before we run out of time there, I got to put up here my phone number, 315-498-9560. And but we'll go in the chat room and go over the different things, good questions you might have and things like that. And I'll talk as long as people want to talk, but I'll stay on the line and answer questions as best I can, because this subject is vast and you really got to take it seriously and not think you're going to meditate it all away or use your intentions. This is serious stuff, believe me. The things I've been shown clairvoyantly, it's just mind-boggling what's out there. This is just the beginning of what we're going to be running into in the future, because these people that get vaccinated become spreaders. if you have been vaccinated with that COVID, you really need to go on Ty Bollinger's website, The Truth About Vaccines. And he's got this thing called How to Neutralize Potential Damage from the mRNA Vaccine. It's on his website, Ty Bollinger's website, but number one on his list is the iodine. Then he's going to recommend zinc, which we already covered, and then he's going to recommend quercetin and supercharged C60. I'm going to repeat that. Supercharged C60. That mops up the stuff in your small intestine. And PQQ, again, you're going to have to learn about that by doing a search on the internet. But truth about vaccinations. These are all good things you should be doing anyways to avoid getting the COVID. But even if you get the vaccination, you're still going to can pick up the COVID. And plus it's morphine in your body. Not exactly the most optimistic things to say, but hey, your health, it's better to be aware of these things and take action. Maybe now I'll stop and we'll go into the chat room after the talk here. But yeah, use your dowsing chart, 0 to 100, and test yourself and douse to see if you got prions in your brain. Because that's the thing you really want to address is those prions. Get them as soon as you can, get work on them as soon as you can. These are things that are doable. Even though this stuff is insidious, there are things you can do. You just got to be willing to do the work and take the action, and not think that you're going to meditate it all away. It's like I said, it's serious business, and I wish you all the best luck and best health, and hopefully you learned a few things today. Take care.